is up, everybody? Welcome back to Strange New Show. Keith and Mike watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I'm Keith, that's Mike. How's it going, buddy?
It's going great, Keith. Your Keith and Mike Entertainment beanie standard issue is in the mail. We're going to have to wear them from now on.
That's true. Mine better be an extra large.
It can't fit any worse than Spock's, dude.
I thought that was funny. I was 100% on board. How's everybody doing? We don't really check in on how you're doing. We ask what you think about the show, but I'm curious. How's everybody doing?
I check in every week on patreon.com/KNM, Keith. I make sure everybody's doing well. Sometimes I'm a little moody, but...
Sometimes.
But they get me through. Theoretically, hypothetically.
Fair enough. Well, today we are talking about Strange New World, Season 2, Episode 5, Charades. Can you believe we're already halfway through Season 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I said. You know, every episode we judge with a little extra added level of scrutiny because we don't have 26 episodes to just, that some we can have a sliding curve here and knock off the top and the lowest rating, Keith. Every episode is important because there's only 10. This week marks the halfway point, and it's a good place for us to take a pause because we are going on vacation next week, everybody.
We are.
Yeah. So,
and of course, like in typical Keith and Mike fashion, we have scheduled our vacations exactly 1 week apart, so we can't actually do it correctly.
Well, to be fair, our initial conversation, we were going to try to overlap, but, life...
We tried to, but look, Broadway needs me. So we have an issue of a theatrical index coming out, which means I can't vacation.
You can't possibly do that from Vermont.
I mean, I can, but it's annoying.
And all the pages of the e-zine get sticky from all of the maple syrup.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you took the swerve there. All right, so let's
get your head out of the gutter.
Oh, jeez.
Save it for the episode. It's plenty horny.
Okay, it is. I mean, this is the horniest Star Trek series that has ever happened.
Well, to be fair, it's probably the hottest too.
I am not going to argue that it is a. Nobody's saying it's an unattractive show. I'll say that. But before we get into all of those shenanigans, we need to give out your ratings for last week's episode, Among the Lotus Eaters. And actually very interesting because we had very strong divergences in the ratings.
Okay.
So at the low level, Jason Moe, 49. Wow. Not loving this episode.
No, okay.
I can't disagree with his reasoning. Kevin Miles, on the other hand, 90. Loving this episode. Worf's boot shivs in the middle at an 81. Harry Pothead gave it a 70, and JD gave it an 80. That's an average of a 74, which means I'm the winner because I said it was a 79.
And I went into the 80s?
You were 81.
Yeah, okay.
You were 81, which is weird because according to your ratings, that was the best episode of the season so far.
Well, I've never stated anything other than our moods and our particular...
You've been in a crappy mood this season, apparently, because I have been consistently well above you.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting, yeah.
I liked it.
And, yes.
That was our... Last week was we were on Off-World, right? It was.
Yeah, that was the memory loss, like Storm the Castle one. But season 1, you liked better than I did.
Yeah,
okay. So... There we go. Let's talk about how much we like Charades, which aired on July 13th, 2023. You got to put about the episode. That's how I do the...
I was just taken by your dulcet tones, buddy.
If you think I'm going to actually watch our episode to get the time codes correct in the footer here, that's not going to happen. So July 13th, 2023, less than a month ago, the top song. Mike, do you know what the top song is?
Was it still last night?
It sure was not.
Oh, good.
No, thank God. We have moved on, and I can't wait to hear your version of Vampire, Olivia Rodrigo's Vampire.
I got my driver's license last week, just like we always talked about. No, that's her other hit.
Did you just like Mitch McConnell for a second?
Olivia Rodrigo, I only know her driver's license song. And anything else really isn't important Because it's all
Yeah.
about, I knew that I loved you, but I never felt this way for no one.
You know, I was going to apologize for making fun of someone's ill health, but then I think Mike should, even somebody who has worked so hard to get rid of people's health insurance, we should not mock their health. However,
No, but that would have woken him up.
yes, exactly. But anyway, let us talk about our top movie, which was Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
Oh, I still haven't seen that one. I wanted to see it on the big screen, but other big pictures, Oppenheimer got in the way, Keith.
I enjoy the Mission Impossible series quite a bit. Like I love the real stunts. It's really exciting, really fun. But I need to like refresh myself on stuff, and so I was like, oh, let me go back and watch like 4, 5, 6. But then I go on to the Paramount Plus, and I don't pay for the good premium, so I'm not getting 5.1 sound, and I
Yeah.
just got the speakers. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this
Yeah,
in
forget that.
stereo.
Not only that, but my understanding is, so, they pushed this one back many, many years. It kept getting pushed because of COVID and just theatrical releases getting
It was
pushed.
actually shot in 1994.
Anywho, in order to keep the marketing wheels churning, they showed a lot more of the stunts in this one. So from what I hear, everything we've seen, all of these big promotional stunt stuff, has basically ruined the movie at this point. Like
Yeah, because it is basically about the stunts and like Simon Pegg putting a mask on.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm sure we'll be fine. Maybe we'll get the 5.1 by the time it comes out on the VOD, Keith.
There it is. Okay, so the weekly world news headline from 20 years previous. Lots of news here. Amelia Earhart's plane lands with a skeleton at the controls. You never knew skeletons could fly airplanes so well.
Yeah, I knew it was she had a lean crew. I didn't know it was a skeleton crew.
All right, I'll give you that.
Stuck in
That's
the
a win.
toilet for 2 hours. Tragedy at 20,000 feet.
That's horribly offensive and wrong and not acceptable.
Man loses fiance in poker game. That's
Also not acceptable.
No, but probably true. Real men in black came here from another planet. Also, probably true.
2003 was a terribly, you know what, and I think we've talked about this, but like, and people have talked about whether we should do Boston Legal, right? Because we did the practice. The Boston Legal, I think, typifies what the early to mid 2000s were. It was a terribly mean-spirited time in our time. So like, just mean. Anyway.
Yeah, it's all played for laughs is the thing.
Yeah. Just no respect. Anyway, blah, blah. I made fun of Mitch McConnell. Okay, so...
That was last week you did that. Or no, you did it this week too. Have you multi-mitched? You might have multi-mitched.
Yeah, well, I will not turtle from these bad puns. All right, so our director for this episode is Jordan Canning. This is her only trek thus far. But I imagine we'll probably see more from Jordan moving forward. It's written by Catherine Lynn and Henry Alonzo Myers. Myers last wrote on Broken Circle, and Catherine Lynn wrote In the Future on These Old Scientists, which we have some prep work to do before we get to that episode. I have to go and I have to spoiler screen some of the episodes of Lower Decks and then get those episodes to Mike so he can watch it, so he has context. You know who always has the context? That is our patrons Patreoning our patron at patreon.com/KNM. Mike, tell us who they are and what delicious goodies they get in exchange for our nonsense.
Oh, so good, the delicious goodies. In fact, Jen just brought me some back from her mom, some brownies. We haven't sent out brownies, but we do have gifts we're going to be sending as soon as we finalize the artwork for the poster, the patron poster, so don't worry.
Oh, that's
friends.
right. Yeah, I need to do that. That's on me.
Yeah.
Mike was holding it up forever, but then this one's now on me.
I just changed the whole idea of it.
You're just like, hey, could you make 17 posters immediately?
Just one
and then 6
poster.
months later, you're like, wait, now just do one,
Those are
which
just
means
for us.
18 posters.
Anyway, that one poster that will be going out to everybody, and except for our big dogs who might get a couple things extra. They're Brian, Kimbrel, Beersock, Casey Clark, Jason Moe, Joshua Cronin. Welcome back to the family.
Welcome back, sir. Welcome back from your
Vegas,
vacation.
Back
Yes.
to the Patreon. Andrew Hayes, Jorge Naveau, and the Mysterious Household Worf's Big Old Boot Shibs.
Big old boot shibs.
Charles Babbage, Richard Coleman, Harry Pothead, Smoke 'em if you got him, CRM Productions, Nikolay Ivanovich Lobachevsky, and Mom. Delusions
Mom.
at Noon, Steve Brown.
She doesn't watch this show.
Mom or Dad had a great comment on the Patreon page about their first transistor radio and how they had to like plug an alligator clip onto a piece of metal to get something.
I guarantee you that's my father, not
Yeah.
my mother.
Well, it was a great story, Dad. Steve Brown, YouTube viewer, JD Makes, Colin Dagan, Chris Mitchell, CRM, Pat, and Josh. Number 2, because he sends us stuff in the mail. Also, he's a double dipper.
Well, and he just sent, I'm sure I mentioned it before, but he just sent me the behind the scenes book about the creation of Deep Space Nine.
Wow.
It's awesome.
So much good stuff coming in the snail mail. Hey, there's all kinds of goodies on that Patreon page, plus access to us any time of the day, every time of the day, and me watching Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Strange New Worlds in all kinds of moods. You can join the team at patreon.com/KNM. Just do it so we just don't have to do these commercials anymore.
We're gonna do the commercials forever because even if we had 10,000, we'd do it a bit even harder.
Yeah, apparently there was some Patreon. They offset their credit card stuff to a new company, and there were some service taking place. So if you had any issues, we it had nothing to do with it, but you might just want to go ahead and check and make sure everything's all your payment credentials and stuff are still up to date. Not just for us, but for any of the creators that you support. Once again, we thank you. Patreon.com/KNM.
All right, it's now time for everybody's favorite trivial segment. Now, Keith, waste your time
With what?
with trivial trivia.
6, 7, 8.
Yes, indeed. Well, this is interesting.
Oh,
Gia
is it?
Sandhu,
Is it
who
interesting,
plays.
Keith?
You know what? You can go interesting on this. Yeah. That's right. Oh, we need like the the Festivus festival that they're gonna do, and like each of us gets 60 seconds to like shoot on each other in the wrestling sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just go. Let's go.
Okay. Gia said who plays T'Pring, and Alora Patniak, who plays T'Pril, her mother, also played mother and daughter in another series in Hudson and Rex, Season 2, Episode 7, The Woods Have Eyes. Hudson and Rex? I don't think I've ever heard of that show.
No.
There's a lot of good shows out there. But interesting, they're now, they played mother and daughter. When T'Pril enters Spock's quarters, musical note here, I love this, a softened version of the original series combat theme is heard, which we also heard in Spock's Nightmare, where he had to fight T'Pring about being human earlier in Season 1. So that is sort of the theme in his head that plays when he's nervous about his human side as it relates to T'Pring. Also, speaking of mothers, there's a lot of like mother issues in this episode. Mia Kirshner, who plays Spock's mother, Amanda, is only 11 years older than Ethan Peck, who plays her son. As always, TV, basically once
I
you
was
hit
confused.
30 and you play your grandma on TV.
I was confused as to whether like she had something special about her that made her age slower or anything, because she could have been younger than Ethan Peck.
Yeah. Well, and Mia Kirshner, of course. Jillian's been watching The L Word, which I watched back when it first came out. Plays a very crucial character in The L Word. It's good fun. It's on Hulu.
Keith, have you ever heard of City TV? City TV? Is it a network or like a streaming service?
Isn't it? Didn't that replace like WPIX or something like that?
Maybe.
And now it's like like channel 11
it's
here.
It's like a CW Light kind of thing, a WB.
Yeah, I think it's like a.
Well, Hudson and Rex airs on City TV, and it is in its 5th season. So
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't heard of the show.
It's a show created by Ken Kupperus, starring John Reardon, Mako Nugent, and Justin Kelly.
Okay. Well, Justin and Kelly,
It is
wildly
about
successful.
a cop canine unit.
Okay. All right. That's all coming together. So there we go. All right. So our guest stars this week include the aforementioned Mia Kirshner as Amanda Grayson, Michael Benyere as Savette, Dan Jeanette as George Samuel Kirk, Alora Patniak as T'Pril, and Gia Sandhu as T'Pring. And I think it's time to hop into our screening room.
I won't give it away, but I am. All right, let's just roll.
Okay. So, yeah, we have some fun this episode. It's kind of a sequel to Spock Amok.
Yes, I got very similar vibes. I guess that one did well, so they thought, hey, let's run it back.
Let's kind of do it again.
Plus, Ethan Peck, just very funny.
Just very funny. It's a very funny cast. So we hear Chapel's personal log. Our heroes are headed to a Vulcan moon that once housed an ancient civilization, then it vanished. But they left behind an energy anomaly. Meanwhile, this gives everybody a chance to have some downtime. Chapel is applying for a medical internship with a Vulcan, and everybody is helping her study except the only Vulcan on the ship, Mr. Spock, of course, and he ignores her on an elevator like a sociopath. We clearly have not dealt with the kiss of it all.
No, but who was it that had the great line? It's how are things? So she just goes, they're weird.
They're weird. Well, I mean, it seems like they're pretty weird.
Yeah.
So then we hear Spock's log. He's been working with Mbenga to suppress more of his emotions. Remember, they got unlocked. The Gorn made all of his feelings come out.
Yep.
And but he's got it locked down again. Not a problem. And Pike tries to help him learn to cook, but he can't smell anything because Vulcans use nasal suppressants. Because you know what, Mike? Humans stink.
That made me laugh too.
And yeah, that's funny. That's been mentioned before on other series, and it always makes me laugh. You know what? We're stinky. You got to admit it. Like, if you had hypersensitive smell, like, it wouldn't be good to be around humans.
No, I can barely handle it with my normal smell.
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive to smell, Keith.
Are you?
Yeah.
The guy lives with 17 cats.
Yeah, that's why I do the litter all day, every day.
Mm-hmm. And 48 candles everywhere you go.
Very OCD. Actually, I share a little bit with Spock, turns out. Sensitive to smells and OCD.
What, Mike? Are you OCD? What?
Yeah,
What is this breaking news we've nobody ever heard before?
Are you gonna clean that up? You finished with that? You finished with that plate? Can I put that away for you? Can I throw that away for you? Can I clean that up?
Oh my God. You judged my desk so hard I thought you'd pulled something. It was terrible. All right. Anyway. He's also annoyed that Sam Kirk is a slob and has lost his sense of humor. But at least he's going to get to see T'Pring while they're on Vulcan. But she's got bad news. Her mother has decided to set up their ceremonial engagement dinner, even though Spock is still not speaking to his father, who is pissed off that he's chosen Starfleet.
That felt like something we know, right? Like that's established.
Yes.
Lore? Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And we said, you know, we, at some point we have to go back and watch the disco episodes that featured some of these folks. Yeah, we'll have to get to that. But we have to get to so many things. Anyway, Spock is distracted. This is big. Oh, yes, that's what's right. This is a big deal. T'Pring's parents have. Oh, T'Pring says her mother has decided to set up their ceremonial engagement dinner, even though Spock isn't speaking. I said that. T'Pring's parents have the ability to pull the plug on their engagement. That's not good. That's not good.
Does create a convenient out, though.
It does. It's almost as if we need to perhaps
Jettison
move forward.
this whole
That's
thing.
right. We need to jettison. Yeah. We need to blow to bring out the airlock, even though she's been a blast.
Well, and Keith, I've been pretty adamant about being team T'Pring.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Star Trek history is on your side.
Yeah, I love
But we're also, Star Trek history is a little bit agnostic about what's about to happen. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's weird. But before that happens, Spock has a mission to fly a shuttle into the weird energy vortex with, his secret crush nurse, Chapel. They have an awkward conversation.
Now that happened. Pike did that not to just mess with them, but because she's studying for that test, so he thought it would be a good way for her to go learn a little bit.
Maybe, or like, is he gonna drop her off at Vulcan when he on the way back? That was a little unclear. Why it was
definitely had
necessary for
something
her
to do with
come
the fact that she is trying to study Vulcan, right? Or she has that.
Well, she's doing archaeological medicine, so it does apply to what's happening.
I think
so
initially
it's like,
the interview was supposed to be in person, so let's go with the theory that he was going to drop her
yeah,
off.
maybe he was gonna drop her off on the way home. Okay, all right, but you're right. That's not super clear.
I mean, they couldn't beam her. They couldn't. There's kind of a whole bunch of other.
There are a lot of contrivances that happen here for our purposes, our story purposes. They do have an awkward conversation, and he's been avoiding her since they made out. But before they can talk about, they arrive at the vortex and they scan it. It turns out to be a temporal vortex to another dimension.
Another
naturally,
dimension.
Thank you for that.
We're gonna get demonetized for my incredible recreation of Beastie Boys' song.
I mean, I think we're probably safe.
Intergalactic planetary temporal vortex. It's time for Bangtown.
That would have been much more funny to me had I forgot the reference.
You don't know?
But luckily, it's funny enough to Mike for both of us. Mike laughs at his jokes.
You're not a Beastie Boys fan, Keith? Turns out?
You know, for a guy who raps as often as I do on my demos, that always sound like Beastie Boys.
Oh, boy. Sometimes I just let my mouth go, and I don't know what's gonna happen, and
sometimes?
Bang Down was a good one.
Well, naturally, they get sucked into the vortex and stuff goes horribly wrong, of course. And there's a flash. And Spock wakes up in the sickbay with Chapel, M'Benga, and Pike looking down at him. Something's up. Mike, what is it? He's been turned into a full human. And we get a great original series sting, as he says, "What the fuck?" Which, funny. And I really liked the sort of, that the original series comedy sting, because that felt very, like, timed. And of course, you know, we swear on Star Trek now, so that's a thing. So we begin Act 1. Look out for some shenanigans, hijinks again. La'an and Una inspect the shuttle. There was a crash, but the shuttle has been completely restored and cleaned. I mean, how dirty was it? La'an, I mean, I guess we didn't see the full conversation before they ran into the anomaly. So, you know, stuff could have gone down in the shuttle. La'an finds a piece of alien tech. It's a phone number to some aliens. They left their card.
And it was all yellow.
I knew that was coming. Turns out to be the aliens who left the moon to live in a different dimension. Her name is Yellow. And they remediated the shuttle, Spock and Chapel when they crashed. And they made them match. Because, you know, that seemed the right thing to do, i.e. both humans, and then they hang up abruptly. So Pike and M'Benga explain it to human Spock. He's having a bunch of crazy feelings all at once, because he's human now. And then he remembers his engagement dinner. T'Pring's mother hates him.
I mean, he's just funny.
He's funny.
Yeah.
He's 100% funny. Like, and they definitely go to that well because, well, I mean, everybody in the show's funny.
Yes.
That's really.
And look, there's going to be plenty, I'm sure, we're going to dissect about this, but I want to say up front, because I think the writers know it and there's a confidence in it. This cast, like the ask here is within our world, right, where we're being kind of playing fast and loose with tone and genre a little bit. We're going to go to, I would have to say, what kept the illusion that kept coming to me was sort of slapstick, zany, I Love Lucy-esque zaniness of rom comedy there, especially with Spock, and that is a tonal shift, right? Because he plays it big, but they justify it, right? His Vulcans feel things at 700, so if you take basically puberty, right, which is already at 700, and amplify that, it's justified, and he plays it well, and you can see how it affects other people, and I think they keep it grounded enough. I don't know, they're able to pull off, I think, the tone very well. Now it opens up some holes, I think, but for the most part, it works for me. I'm getting very much I Love Lucy meets Tom Hanks in Biggs vibe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it was very smart for them to make the puberty analogy and being a teenager, because that's what justifies the extremity of his feelings. So fun, and he also has no control, because he's never needed this level of control, or is losing his like Vulcan control, which like the Vulcan control over emotions is not biological. Like, that's something that they do at a societal level. Like, you train to do that. It's not like so that's a bit of a wormhole. Anyway,
right, but we don't. But we can't judge him against the litmus test of normal Vulcans because he's got that mixed DNA. So he is.
Well, right now he's fully human.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So yeah, this is another one where like don't think too hard about it. It's fun. So Chapel is going to work to try to fix him, so he returns to his duties. Human Spock is kind of like drunk Spock. He laughs too hard, he wants to eat all the bacon in the world, and he tries to fight Kirk. Funny. He then talks to La'an, who explains he's basically going through puberty. And he notes her, and she pieces out in a very hilariously awkward scene.
Well, when he flips out at Kirk, I laughed. And
Fight me!
And when he's eating the bacon, I mean, these are just like run-of-the-mill comedic montage beats, but I have to tell you, I was legit LOLing, like laugh out loud funny. They were hitting the right notes. They were doing it for me.
And it's because he plays it sincerely. I mean, he really is invested fully in what's happening here, which is fun. He's a terrific actor. It's really fun. All right. So meanwhile, Chapel can't find a solution. Oh yeah, and like her expressions throughout this. Another great comedian on the show. I'm glad they've allowed La'an to sort of like relax a little bit and have a little bit more of a sense of humor. I think that's been a wise choice. So Chapel can't find the solution. Then Mbenga reminds her that she has an interview with a Vulcan. So she meets him on Zoom, and he's a total dick. And we reinforce here, and we saw this a lot, kind of starting on Enterprise. Vulcans are all kind of dicks.
What about that Vulcan we saw? Well, we're about to meet her parents, but what about the Vulcan we saw a couple weeks ago when Una was on trial? The guy who just wouldn't even do the lawyering, but was basically lawyer oversight, and he was a dick too.
Yeah,
until he was starting to smile because happiness ending.
Right. No, I mean they're all sort of condescending dicks, and this they started this on Enterprise because they were showing the very early interactions between humans and Vulcans, and they were just so condescending and so, treating us like little bugs.
Also, I feel like I know this guy. Is he a theater guy?
I don't know. He did look vaguely familiar. Let's look it up. So, all right, hold on. You know what? You look it up because I have to keep reading this
You're
description.
right. I have to hit the buttons too, though. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll put a pin in it, Keith.
I have to use my mouth button. You have to use your finger buttons. So Spock goes to the transport room and his mom beams in. Apparently, Pelia and Spock's moms know each other. Spock arrives wearing a silly hat. Pike covers well. Pike is really funny in this episode.
Oh, wait, did we miss the beat where like he says, hey, Vulcans are dicks, and they hug in the hallway? That was kind of a fun 8th grade dance. You don't want to hug too closely because...
Oh, right. Yes. She runs into human Spock, who gives her a hug. They're both having kind of crappy days, and he says Vulcans can be such jerks. Very true indeed.
They also worked in a little like consent beat here, which I appreciated, actually. It looked like it was like on a read. It was like on a draft. They were like, can we just add a line where he asks permission, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. Although he sort of does it retroactively, but the idea is there.
The thought that counts. It doesn't really work that way either. But
but
she was
thought
into
about
it.
Consent.
Yeah, they know they dig each other, so it's good.
Yeah, great. Anyway, Spock's mom says we have to do the engagement dinner now, or the wedding is off. And we're going to do it here tomorrow night. Very funny.
She looks 18.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's Mia Kirshner. She's an attractive lady and has been for a long time. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we reinforce that T'Pring's mother is a jerk and that they're skittish already about the union. Spock freaks out and is forced to admit what's going on. So his mom decides to teach him how to lie and pretend to be a Vulcan. And they start with giving him his own costume ear appliances. Funny. Do we have a prop for that? Yeah, we do.
And they're good. We spent money on them.
We sure did. I like it was clever. Then she teaches him how to make the family tea and pretend not to be burned by the scalding Vulcan teapot. He's surprised at how well women suppress their own pain, to which I ponder, have you ever spoken to a woman? Because it's
I have
remarkable.
Some physical questions about, like maybe a biological wormhole here, there to revisit. They make a big deal about this ceremony and they can blunt down their pain, but that doesn't mean, because then when she touches his hand later, there is, if you just leave, look, even if you could like suppress your pain, Keith, and you put your hand on the stove for too long, you're gonna have like huge, terrible burns.
Well, did we see his hand not having burns?
All Vulcans would just be constantly burned.
What? No, we don't know that, because like I don't think the Vulcans don't feel pain because they're suppressing pain. They're biologically different. They're also super strong.
But she's not a Vulcan, so when she's doing this with the tea and stuff, her hands would be effed up.
Well, I mean, yes, but I think she's probably built calluses. She has to do this every day.
No, yes, that's what I'm saying. You don't get 3rd degree burns every day and just like build calluses.
Well, nobody said it was 3rd degree. Have you ever held a hot plate?
Keith, if you boil water, you can't touch the pot. That's 3rd degree burns, man.
Well, we don't actually see the bottoms of their hands. I mean,
you just walk around with 3rd degree burns all the time?
I'm sure she has super calluses.
No,
if you touch the stove every day,
it's a firm
you
hole.
would have calluses
firm worm hole.
You haven't had a firm wormhole since you were 28.
You can't handle the firm worm. What's happening?
This is not going well. So, anyway, the rest of the cast try to teach him how to sound Vulcan. It's pretty funny. It's kind of like an acting class for anyone who comes in as a Vulcan. Some of the Vulcans on this show have not taken said acting class, and it would be good if they got all of these notes. They also prepare for the Vulcan ritual of Festivus, where the parents air their grievances and say everything that is wrong with them. I'm familiar with that one. Then the last ritual.
I call it every day.
I call it calling my mom.
Yeah.
That's not actually true. My mom's not like that. Actually, and neither is my ex-mother-in-law. She has never said mean things to me. Anyway,
My
so
mom is a professional.
yes. I doubt that you're Moogie.
I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. You didn't? Then what was why did you even open your mouth? Okay.
Why are you talking if you're not trying to hurt my feelings?
Oh, well, yeah, I see you got a belly. What?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, I want you to be healthy. What are you talking about? Okay, let's go.
No, that's a conversation I've had. Okay, fair enough. The last ritual is a mind meld with said mother, so you can really hear all of her thoughts about said belly, and they try to teach him how to fake a mind meld, and it's not going great. Yes, it seems like you're constipated. Again, I feel like these are all acting notes for people who have played Vulcans, because you definitely have like the random actor who comes in and mind melds like they need to change their shorts. Like it's like a whole thing. Meanwhile, Chapel is totally stumped and running out of time. She knows she's gonna have to ask Yellow for help. So she talks Uhura and Ortegas into flying the shuttle back into the energy vortex. They also, while doing this, eat much more normal food on this show than any other Trek.
Like a ciabatta bun we got.
I mean, it looks delicious. Look, it's a pretty good burger. Like everybody on like Next Gen, Decent and Voyager, it's all like space food, and so it's got to be like this weird color and this weird whatever. And they just eat food in contemporary Trek, which I appreciate, because I don't think I'd ever seen a carb being eaten until contemporary Trek. In Act 3, Spock and Amanda prepare for the arrival of T'Pring and her parents. He grabs T'Pring first, and she is very over her mother. So T'Pring and Spock head off to his quarters. Obviously, they are not getting along, and she makes a joke about eating your young, and Spock laughs. However, he said that he was arguing with her mother about her outfit, which is fire.
Fire. She looks, you know exactly who she looks like here? She's giving me 1980s She-Ra figure. Or no, not She-Ra. Teela.
Oh, yeah.
Which is Adam's sister in He-Man.
I'll tell you what, though, that's winning Project Runway this week. Like, no question, because that's awesome. Anyway, they do the ceremony in Pike's quarters, and he's made a bunch of Vulcan food. T'Pring's parents arrive, and her father is super chill and nice, but her mother is a total non-pleasant person.
Yo, he's funny as hell too. This wife-husband relationship I've seen before.
Yes.
People.
Now, I do have to say, well, like, the sitcom beats of that are very funny. I don't know. I'll talk about it later. But like all of the Vulcans are like crazy emotional on this show. It doesn't make sense. So she complains about everything, including the smell and the food. Pike is wearing a Strange New Worlds version of the green wraparound we saw Kirk in the original series. Pretty cool. And here's what I say. All the Vulcans behave way more emotionally on this show. Even those not turned into humans. The dad, T'Pring, all of them are like crazy emotional. And I don't know. I get what they're doing, for the comedic parts of it all. But I'm not sure if it fits particularly well in with the way that we've depicted Vulcans previously.
Okay, well, that point I'd say is fair. But at the same time, I think T'Pring, though she's over her mom and she's showing that exasperation, if inside she's feeling that at 7,000 and we're only seeing it at like a 10, then...
Well, yes, but the Vulcans have always been depicted as they never get to a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Like they do not have it. And so like even in the most emotional moments with Nimoy or Tim Russ or whatever, it's nowhere near that hot. So
I can definitely see that brings a tonal issue. But if this is the episode you're going to do, actually it could have been more of a juxtaposition. But I think they were trying to, as sitcoms did, right? As slapstick silly sitcoms did, play things so general and like archetype
Yeah.
stock character beats, like the mother-in-law beat here that everybody who hates everything and makes you crazy, and the kind of doting husband or the dolty husband who's just
it's a doofus.
I want another one. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. Yeah, like it's very
browbeaten.
much stock. But
I mean, I get it, and it's not that it's not funny. It's just that I feel like it would have been funnier had they found a way to let them be Vulcan in this.
Well,
and it's almost like, it's written and directed by people who got a 30-second breakdown on what Vulcans are supposed to be, but don't really understand it and have like integrated the true lore and performances moving back around. I know a lot of people have that trouble with contemporary Trek, is that it is written by the next generation, right? And tonally it feels like people who's like, oh yeah, I watched like 5 episodes, so like I know the whole deal, and who haven't really gotten into it. So
which I would argue, if this were a standalone property that was like in the future or in a different time, that was not a precursor to everything, that's okay. That's what we should be doing. We should be opening up the stories. But because so much is predicated on this lore, it's hard to do that.
Well, and I don't mind the evolution of the series, of the topics, of the politics, of the tone, whatever. Next Gen did that from the original series. Like, it absolutely evolved and changed, and like, of course it should. New generation comes in, right? But it feels a little underbaked. I feel like they all would have done better had they split the difference a little bit, and had a little bit more respect for the original tone and setup.
Well,
and then go into all these new directions.
Also, it's interesting because I think Spock and Muck handled it better, because it put both of the Vulcans in that storyline in an extraordinary circumstance. And so you would probably buy that they're going to behave with heightened response. Whereas in this circumstance, 3/4 of the Vulcans we see are in just sort of, yes, it's heightened, quote unquote, emotionally because of the circumstance, but it's just there's a lot of ceremony with Vulcan, right?
Yes, but I also think that Spock and Muck, they were less emotional in Spock and Muck.
When they used their Vulcan-ness as kind of a boon to the plot device.
Yeah, it's like this season has pushed has dialed up the emotion of the Vulcans more than season 1. I didn't even really think about it. I don't think I had a problem with how it was handled in season 1. Season 2, it seems like they've really cranked it up, and I'm not sure if I'm liking it. Anyway,
aside completely off your topic, but I want to mention it before it goes unnoticed. Anson Mount is doing incredible reaction acting in this episode. His comedic reaction beats are pitch perfect in this episode.
Like, absolutely just stellar. No question. So, meanwhile, Chapel, Uhura, and Ortegas fly up to and eventually into the energy thing. It's risky, but Chapel's gonna have to save her boyfriend. So they fly right into the light-up butthole. Meanwhile, Spock has to do the tea ceremony and pretend he's not in crazy pain. It goes pretty well, and his like reaction to the pain and then turning around he did a good job with that. He really did. Chapel and Chapel and Ortegas have arrived in the mirror zone. What mirror dimension? What's the one from Doctor Strange?
Oh, I thought you were going to say the upside down from...
No, this is very much the mirror dimension, or whatever it is. So they talked to Blue for a bit, but Blue doesn't want to help.
What I thought was funny is in the beginning, my first pitch for this society, I thought I was like, is it an advanced AI? Because it was responding very much like Siri does. And this looks like the Siri bubble on your phone.
Yeah. I think they may have gone just become tech. Totally possible. So Blue doesn't want to help. So they ask to speak to the manager, Yellow. And they say, we need help fixing Spock. We head back to the ceremony, and Festivus has started. Amanda is having a hard time telling T'Pring she sucks. But her mother is perfectly happy to. She lays into Spock.
Hold on.
You're a disappointment.
Is this where she tells Yellow she likes Spock? She got crushed?
No, later. Next
Okay,
scene.
I was gonna say,
there's
that's
a
like
lot. There's a whole mess of these intercut.
That's a big beat we need to talk about.
Yeah, I got feelings about that too.
Okay.
T'Pring's mother lays into Spock. You're a disappointment. You've abandoned your family and our daughter. And she says, your father is right to shut you out, and you don't deserve our daughter. Happy engagement. Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah, his reaction here is warranted.
Oh, absolutely. Spock asks to go take a leak, so of course he can privately freak out. And I thought that was a funny beat.
Dude, that hairpiece is something.
It is. It's really just sitting there. And
I like that they commented on it.
Meanwhile, I need to comment on Pike's super fancy bathroom. Like, what the hell is that? That's fancy as heck. So Chapel finally gets to speak to the manager and explains the situation. Yellow wants her to admit that she's in love with Spock, and eventually she has to.
Well,
it's a very odd stipulation.
No. I have a feeling about it, but it's not. It doesn't say why. They are very practical and pragmatic, very much logically based, such as the Vulcans, you could say. And she's saying, "Look, friends don't generally don't rise to the importance of wanting to take care of people. Why we don't, like if it, so it you gotta prove to me it's more than just a friend."
But why do they care? What
it's the bureaucracy here, man.
What could they possibly care about their emotional entanglements?
Well, the whole thing it's red tape, right? That's why they had to go back to Yellow, because Yellow had to wade through the red tape, and basically friends don't get to log complaints.
But like, what red tape ever has to do with like, oh right, so we need to apply for an LLC, right? And we have to go through all sorts of red tape, and they're like, okay, you can't get your permit till you tell me just how much you like Mike.
Okay, well,
tell me how much do you like Mike?
If I'm in the hospital, Keith, you can't come see me because we're buddies, right?
Right, but it has nothing to do with our emotional entanglement. It's our legal definition of our relationship.
Well, here it's a little different. It's just a little more.
Because like, are you married or not? Not how much do you love your wife? It's are you married?
Okay.
Nonsense.
It didn't bother me. What bothered me was that if okay. See, I'll grant you your quibble. I don't have it, but my quibble is, once we've established the rule set, hey, if it's just a friend, I can't help you. Well, great. He's not just a friend. I love this guy. I've fallen in love with him. If it's not just his life is on the line, but all three of them are clearly in this entanglement, right? She's brought all this. She's risked the lives of her other crewmates for Spock. At this point, you see your opening. Why are you playing 6th grade girl? Like, oh, turn around. I couldn't possibly. Oh, I couldn't say it. I'd be like, yeah, love him. Whatever. What do you need me to say to get it back? Whatever. What do I need to do in this circumstance?
We don't know. Like, I don't think, had Yellow rejected the request, it wouldn't have murdered them. They would have said, go home.
Sure, whatever. I'm saying we've gotten this far, right? It's like if Dorothy at the very end had just been like, you know what? We're here. Man, let's forget it. I don't. Now I'm too afraid to go with the pail and throw the water and the stuff. Like, nah, you're here. I thought she was playing coy. The whole coy bit here didn't work for me.
Okay, well, fair enough. The whole thing was just. Okay, so I'm a writer. I need to get to the moment where she confesses her true feelings. This is the laziest possible way to get there. There has to be a better reason for her to confess that, other than like to tell Siri. Siri's like, Siri, set an alarm for 9 a.m.
That's not.
Well, how do you feel about waking up at 9 a.m.?
The thing is that it's like you said, it's inconsequential here. Everybody knows already, right? They all know.
Right.
She knows. Know, yeah. We know. So this beat, there's no drama to this beat. There's no reason for. She's not conflicted. She's just basically being polite because she's in a no-win situation. She's not. She's decided not to tell Spock how she feels because she's being respectful to his situation, and he's at least communicated that he's not quote unquote interested. So that's what I've seen as the reason. It's not that she hasn't admitted it to herself. We know what's up. She knows what's up. So we don't need that beat at all. They can save it for when they see each other at the end.
She needs to tell him that.
Correct.
Right. Not Siri. She doesn't need to tell Siri about this.
And
Siri doesn't care.
Yes.
Why does Siri care?
The whole point is that there's no dramatic need for her to keep the secret, which is why this scene doesn't really work.
Right.
There's no
Well,
because there's no impedance to her saying it. But they're trying to create it.
Not to Siri. I mean, to her friends, right? You don't want to be that, like, you know, the third wheel in somebody else's relationship. Like, you don't necessarily want to admit, oh my God, yes, I'm in love with that married person. Right? I get it. Like, I get that you want to, like, keep that on the DL.
Yeah, but everybody knows, and you know that they know. So
yeah, but you still don't want to talk about it.
In this circumstance, when the rest of their future depends on it, you can get over yourself, is what I'm saying.
Well, she does. She does all the things.
You're right. So anyway, Siri's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So anyway, she's, you know, in
and I
the
guess
confession, however,
they either give her the goo or they just give her a schematic to make the goo.
I think they just give her the recipe for goo. Yeah.
Okay.
However, when she does confess, I think Jess Bush does a terrific performance of an oddly shoehorned scene.
Yeah. Sure.
I thought she did a great job.
Especially
also,
just standing in the empty volume with like color. I also thought the design of this intermission. Speaking of lazy, I thought the design of the Siri thing was.
Oh, I kind of liked it.
No,
I was fine with
just
that.
colors and stuff. Make a choice.
Also, her American accent is flawless.
Is she not American?
She's not American. She's from down under. So she's a flawless American accent, and so is her hair. Also, Please Date Me.
That reminds me of the actress, I can't remember her name, who plays Shiv on, oh my God, that show that everybody loves about the business stuff. Oh my God.
Succession,
yeah. The daughter.
Which I haven't seen and you have.
She is also got a flawless American accent, and she's from down under. They're very good. And Nicole Kidman. Okay, well, not so good.
They're so much more talented than we are. So in Pike's quarters, it's time. I just asked her to date me here on the internet, so there it is. So in Pike's quarters, it's time for the mind meld. Pike tries to stall with a very important Earth tradition of charades. Luckily, they're interrupted by Chapel with the hypo spray with the cure, and Pike hilariously covers.
And the dad, once again,
that was really funny.
So good.
Again, he's too emotional, but that beat really is funny.
Yeah, I guess he wouldn't hire Milton Berle to play a.
Yeah, because this is like an Everybody Loves Raymond beat, and it's really funny and it's going great, but it's definitely not Vulcans.
Yeah, that's an interesting dilemma we found ourselves in when it comes to like, is it okay? Because I guess not, but it's very funny.
It's funny.
It'd be better to complain. It'd be easier to complain about if it wasn't funny.
But just imagine every one of his lines just drier. I think it would be funnier. I actually think it would be genuinely funnier if he did them as a full Vulcan but said the exact same lines. I think all of this would be funnier if they took the emotional affect out.
I would argue that the mom is not playing emotional. She's playing pretty straight.
Does play annoyed. Like her annoyance, like, but the whole thing with the Vulcans is that they say dickish things, but they won't admit that they're being a dick.
Because because I would imagine their point is logical. If you have the logical point, and in this particular case, he is wrong for her.
No, of course, logic. Well, yes, I mean logic is debatable, but it was just like, like, all right, I'll be your mom here, and be like, Mike, I see that you have a belly. You are too fat. It's not, you just take all the emotion out of it. You're going to die lonely because you're so fat, Mike. It is not logical to want to die alone.
This game. I don't like this game at all. Keith being a Vulcan version of my mom telling me I'm too fat is not what I signed up for.
you going to play this clip for your therapist?
Although my mom is oddly Vulcan in her delivery of all things. So
Yeah, see? And doesn't it hurt more when she just like is totally dead-eyed about it?
no, because she can't remember how to do anything. So it's
Okay, well, anyway, my point is...
I got your point. Let's continue on.
All right.
Okay. So she comes to give him the goo.
Mike, you're not fat. I'm just being,
I'm
just being
great. I just got
pretend,
back from the
Mike.
gym. I feel great.
Oh, no. Mike, you know you're the hot one on the show, right?
That's debatable. I'm not the stuff. People, nobody's mailing me stuff.
Because they're gonna...
Do not respond. Move forward.
Whew, all right. Whew,
We still
anyway,
have one
so
wheel on the rail. We somehow gotta move forward.
We got to make sure we fully derail before we're done. So Chapel comes in. He's got the hypo spray with the cure. She privately explains this is going to put his Vulcanness back, but the physical changes will take longer for story. They have a trembly love moment. Then she hits him with the hypo spray. So there we go. Later, the mind
That's
meld
a good
works.
beat, though. That's a good beat. That's like, I don't want your... It's like when you're... Hypothetically, you crush your hat all through like middle school and high school or whatever, and you guys have never
hypothetical.
said those words to each other, but then she gets real drunk at a party and like is like kind of like messy all over you, and you're like, this is not how I envisioned it. I don't... Hypo needle.
Yeah. Well, but there you get to the consent angle, because she knows. Actually, I think this is about consent.
Yeah.
Because she knows that he is not in his right mind, and even if he's just confessing his feelings, that's a very vulnerable thing that he probably would want to be able to choose to make that move or not
Without
in such a
human
vulnerable state.
Horntown all over you.
Without human Horntown. I mean, all consent comes from the beginning of the branch of human Horntown. That's
Well, also, I think that once again, we've established not just consent, but her respect for what's happening out there. I mean, that's a pretty big deal that's taking place, and there's other people involved, like his fiance, her family, his family. They're all like outside the door right here. So it's best we don't. This is not the time or place for this. If you want to make a decision, yeah. So she's giving him that out.
Oh, they're gonna find a time and place, Mike. Don't you worry. So after she hits him with a hypo spray, his mind meld works. And Spock is successfully able to mind meld with his mother. T'Pring forces her mother to admit that the ceremony has been completed. And she says Spock did a good job despite his handicap of being half human. Again with the dickishness. Spock decides, you know what? Hell with this. And tell her the whole thing was done by a human. Except for the mind meld part, but whatever. He takes off his ears, and he sticks up for himself and his mother. Very convenient the ears didn't grow back right away. So we could have this moment.
Well, she said it's going to take a little while.
Yes, but it didn't need to.
But important thing to note, though, is that yes, physically he can have the reveal, but he is a Vulcan again now.
And he did the mind meld as a Vulcan
so
too.
this one could say attack or rebuttal to the mother-in-law is being done from his Vulcan side. Well,
By full Spock. Yeah.
Full Spock.
No, that's a good point. Also, and this is where I think the episode is most interesting, he sticks up for his mother, who has chosen to live among Vulcans who have been so shitty to her over all the years for Spock's benefit. So later, T'Pring is understandably...
Put a pin in that. Because...
Yeah, I do. I have more to say on that later.
Okay, great. Because so do I.
My hesitation was reading ahead to make sure I addressed it.
Okay.
So T'Pring is understandably pretty pissed that he didn't tell her what was happening.
She makes a good note.
She's
I'm
100%
the only
right
person
here.
you didn't tell. Literally everyone else is in on this.
She's 100% right. And he says, I was trying to spare you, and Vulcans don't lie well, but she understandably points out like you said, it involved everyone else in this game and not her. And that this means really he doesn't trust her. And says, like, we gotta spend some time apart. And frankly, I totally get it. I think she is.
Well, she does like 6 years of couples counseling in like one beat here, which I think is great because she's not an idiot. She's sensed some chemistry or whatnot in other places, but her logic has gotten through all the jealousy, emotions, and all that crap and gotten down to the core of it. The core of it here is that he's conflicted and she is the one he's not trusting.
Right. And this isn't a new thought for her.
Right.
You know, this has been something that's happened over and over again. So she's probably coming to this conversation already having put some thought into this. And she's right.
It's baller of the writers too, I think, because it's way too often you either make T'Pring out to be a villain,
the bad guy.
Something happens where she's been screwing him the whole time, or this, that, or they kill her, or they make it easy. And this way, you come out. Look, I'm not gonna lie. When the next scene happens, I cheered. I literally cheered because it's like it's built up to be a release moment, right? But at the same time, Spock doesn't come across looking totally
perfect
clean.
Here.
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
no, not at all.
And I'm not gonna say that it's convenient because plenty of relationships, I mean, plenty of relationships, they break up and then the next day they're with this person because it's been. I mean, that's not
because that's been cooking for a while.
That's not out of the range of realism.
No, but it definitely does not give him the moral upper hand here. She has the moral upper hand here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because it's not court, right? It doesn't mean that relationship's going to work. Well, and I think she makes the right call.
And look, they spent all of Spock amuck getting to there's clearly a relationship here. So
he's tried. Yeah, for
sure. So I think it's handled pretty well. It doesn't feel like they just tied a tourniquet and cut the limb off.
No.
It feels like they made prop.
No, and they made there be consequences, and they held people accountable to some extent. Although he does now get to make out with Chapel, which I'm not envious. Anyway, so later the Vulcan Dick tells Chapel he's rejecting her, and she says, "I went to interdimensional space and got them to help me. I don't need you, fool." Good beat.
Isn't it interesting that I can't. Every time there's a shot and they have that chair there where we had the little girl before, there's always just. It feels like there's some sort of symbolism. I can't see that dentist chair without thinking of that little girl who's now just like an all powerful being somewhere.
Oh, that's true. Well, and basically she aged like 30 years in 10 seconds. She's been dead for like a year now.
No, she can't die. Remember, she lives forever in the fairy tale world with that being now. My point is it's a great symbolism here for Chapel saying, "Hey, dude, I don't need your fellowship. I'm making crazy shit is happening here all the time. So we got the best science, the greatest discoveries, the biggest papers ever written, all kinds of papers. The biggest papers.
We totally talked to Siri. If blue won't help, you just go to yellow. It's fine. It's great. It's amazing.
Orange if you need it.
Orange is the best color. It's fine. And there's no Siri in prison. It's fine.
All right. So Spock and Pike commiserate together over drinks. Then Spock says goodbye to his mother, and we find out that the memory she shared was one where Spock was finally being accepted for the first time with the other Vulcan children. And it was a happy moment for him, but he, giving this new context from her point of view, realizes that she continued to be rejected by the Vulcans and has stayed for him and for her father in this society that has rejected her entire life. And he has newfound respect for what she went through.
Keith, true or false? You would sacrifice a couple of those comedy beats or cut the Siri I love Spock scene in half to have actually seen that flashback? Because I think it would have added
100%.
so much to the episode.
Yeah, because that's the nugget of depth in this episode.
Yes.
That's the real thing. I mean,
and it's all told to us. Nothing of it is shown.
There's a story there about immigration and sort of integrating into a new society and the rejection of that. That's a whole story.
And as great as his mom, the actress playing his mom, is, there's only so much you can do in recital. You know what I mean? And they're trying to talk about this whole life she lived in sacrifice for him in this society that has not treated her well, and we see none of it. So, and that beat where they describe just that moment and his now realization of all the things you just said would have been so easy to show in 11 seconds, 15 seconds, and it would have meant so much more. It felt weird. Its omission was palpable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great beat. I don't know if we need like a whole episode about it, but I think it's
just
definitely
show the mind meld.
It's the emotional beat here, meat here for sure. Anyway, so then he goes to find Chapel, who is already outside his door, and it is on like Donkey Kong. He tells her that he and T'Pring have separated and that he has feelings for someone, and she just kisses him, and the door closes. We know what they did. They done did it.
Well, we assume.
Oh, no. That was not the kiss
Not
of like,
only did they do it, but Keith wrote a whole thing about it. It's on the dark web. You can find it.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's weird because Spock got deleted. Spock got written off that. Find and replace.
How good! I should have done it. I should have photoshopped him out and put your face in for the last slide there. Just
Ew.
Yeah, but not without consent. I would have had to
Even
write too
I'm
many
grossed
emails.
out by that. Because in my head, I look like Ethan Peck. So.
Keith, we're feeling a little punchy, aren't we?
You think?
Punch that shit! Punch it, punch it, punch it! Just punch it, man, just punch it! Punch it, punch it, punch it!
Let's punch it. Hit it.
Yo, Adrian! It's the Punchies!
Wow, there it is. It gets better every time. All right, well, welcome to the Punchies. Very dark today. There it is.
That was weird.
So we begin, as always, with wormholes in the plot. We've talked about them a little bit. Mike, summarize your wormholes in this plot.
The hand burning thing, there needs to be physical repercussions. It just bugs me. It's a wormhole. It's just a physical wormhole. Just saying it. 2, it's weird that Spock and his mom look the same age. I guess it's not a wormhole, but it's a little bit of a wormhole. What was she,
Look,
8 when she had him?
the work that you can do 300 years from now is
you're right.
really good.
The skin creams they have on Vulcan are insane.
You wouldn't believe the creams. You can put them everywhere.
Good God.
I have the butthole of a 14-year-old. You wouldn't believe it.
The bleached, perfectly orange.
It's its own light source.
So
It's so bright.
the other thing, I don't know if it's a wormhole, but I have questions. I question it is. Look, don't get me wrong. Fundamentally changing if your makeup is big. Those are big stakes. That's a big deal, right? If you're half human, half Vulcan, and then you become all Vulcan or all human, that is a big deal. That is, you're now fundamentally not yourself anymore. That is a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but Spock was alive and happy and healthy and learning to cope, and without more than like 12 seconds of deliberation, as often happens when these questions where it's like, hey, suicide mission, you in or out? Everybody's just like, yeah, okay, what are we fighting for? Oh, Spock. What, is he going to die if we don't do this? No. I mean, it felt like it was a very quick agreement to go on suicide mission to talk to Yellow, because she did say we all might not make it.
And I feel like Pike might have had something to say about that. Maybe some
also,
sort
were
of
they
like
stealing a ship to go do it? What?
Well, stealing ships is like totally cool.
I know,
so.
stealing a ship for a
No consequences.
for a suicide mission. I mean, it's just another episode. So that it just felt like it didn't seem to be speaking of logic, like a logical decision they all made together. Or didn't they give her a phone number for Yellow? Couldn't we just call waiting? It all seemed a little.
Well, but they said Yellow wouldn't pick up,
yeah.
so they had to go say anything and hold the boombox.
It didn't seem to be a really like well strategized decision to risk everybody's life for that. There was something else. There was something else that I can't remember. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of my wormholes are feelings, right?
Right.
Why does Siri care about the feelings? I'm sorry, I don't buy it. We did not set them up to as a culture that valued the connections between other people and feelings or whatever. It just like, we can't escalate the ticket unless you really, really want it.
Well,
and
it
then
felt
we'll
to me
escalate
more
the
like a
ticket.
quid pro quo. Like they were confused. Hey, we've pretty much got you figured out. We've run the sequencing on your genome and your culture, and we've got you figured out. Except this thing. You guys
But they
have
never
these-
express any curiosity. They're
She
like,
does.
leave us alone.
No, she does say it. She's like, actually, you can. This helps us with a question we had. She says it in the dialogue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that case, it's flimsy, but at least it's
Look,
there.
Siri does not. Hold on.
The AI's got to learn. It's got to have.
All right, hold on.
She's gonna confuse. She's gonna surprise you.
Siri, do you care about my feelings?
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help with?
No, Siri does not care about my feelings.
Hold on. Well, you got to be more specific now. This is getting insane. Siri, do you love me?
Not the same.
She says, I think you're pretty great.
It's not the same question.
Siri,
same.
are my feelings important to you? She doesn't understand. What about Google? Hey, Google, are my feelings important to you?
Can't hear anything.
Yeah, no, they don't love me.
Yeah, but
Okay.
here's the analogy. Siri, do you care how much I like Mike?
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help with?
No, you don't.
Just
she
turn
doesn't
on
care.
the goddamn lights, okay?
She doesn't care. She doesn't care how much she likes me.
All right.
Or I like
okay,
you.
Fair
All right.
enough. Fair enough.
And the other thing I mentioned before, just the Vulcans have way too many feelings. They're just like, they're basically just humans with funny ears. All right, let's talk about our best moment.
Well, the best moment is the moment we don't see, and that is like all of the great stuff with Spock and his mom at the very, very end. Very quickly.
I thought you were talking about Spock and Chapel. I'm like, it's a different kind of show, buddy.
No, so that would be it, but we don't really get to see it, and so we have to extrapolate that. The best moment for me on screen is as random as it is, and I know how much you've completely convinced me that it is not good. But regardless, everything that happens from when the father-in-law walks through the door, and Pike is there, and Spock is there, and they're doing all of those zany beats. Everything pitch perfect worked for me. Spock's "I'm a horny teen" montage in the second act absolutely killed it for me. So that stuff worked, and for me, it made me laugh, and that, we talk about the fun factor, Keith, and that brought the fun factor. So I'm gonna go with those little beats for my best moments.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I guess I don't quite feel the loss of having seen that moment with his mother as much as you do. I think I would have liked to have spent more time on that idea.
Mm-hmm. But I'm sure she'll be back.
Seeing
we
it,
might revisit it.
seeing it's less important to me. But I do think it's the best moment because I think it's where there's meat on the bone of this whole interaction, of this whole situation, and we learn something new about Spock by his learning something new about his mother. And I think that it's very human. It's very, we're at the age now where we're really seeking to understand our parents better. And like, when you're in your teens and 20s, you don't want to know anything. When you're 30, it's like, I want to know so I can justify how much I hate you. And I think once you get to our age, there's a little bit more curiosity there, and there's a little bit more compassion there, and like, okay, I didn't like that you did X, but I can see a little bit more, I can understand a little bit more about why you might have had that problem, or why you might have made that choice, which I still don't disagree with, or still don't agree with, but like, I'm seeing you more as a person with a little bit more empathy, with a little bit more room for humanity. And so I really liked that moment there for Spock. And I think it taught him, because so much about the parent-child storytelling is finding ways that you're similar, and in this way, it was a little bit about finding ways that they were different, and that their experiences were different. And I think that's just interesting. I just like that moment. So,
Just about parental understanding, to just piggyback on that real quick. Another thing that happened in the episode we didn't spend a lot of time on is that there's a great beat where, what's Spock's mom's name? Amanda talks about how much she loves and respects T'Pring and what she's been through, and T'Pring shows an appreciation for being appreciated in spite of, obviously, clearly the gauntlet that her mother's thrown down. So I thought that was a cool moment, a very human, go figure, a very human experience described there.
All right. So I'm with you. Let us move forward and do some symbols. Oh, wow.
You get some steps.
Words are in my mouth.
Hell yeah, they are self-sealing. Here are some symbols for you.
Look, I've gotten like 30 emails since we started talking.
Yeah, I get you, buddy. I understand.
Very
I'm
annoying.
trying to like wrap up work before vacation. So, look, it's fun. It's fun when Keith and I spar, obviously. And though I'm not as tied, I guess, to the Vulcan experience and to their general behavior emotionally or how they exhibit those, I will tell you my biggest issue with the episode, which actually is falls in line with a lot of your feelings. In this episode, we are fighting to get Spock to be back to his Spockness, right? Because we value him for who he is, and we don't want him. It's not just the jokey joke, oh, we don't like him, he's too adolescent as a human or whatever. We want him to be who he is.
Right.
And a big part of that is Vulcan, and we get to see a lot of Vulcans here. But what there isn't in this episode, which I find interesting, is a spokesperson for the Vulcan race. Everything we see in this episode...
That's not a dick.
Yeah, everything we see in this episode is not I won't say an indictment, but shows Vulcans lots of flaws, or shows it compared to humans and how it is not less than, but is abrasive, is...
Why would you want to be a part of this?
There's no advocate for why Spock should want his Vulcanness back. In fact, Spock himself, and I went back and checked, never once says, oh, I want it back. It's only in the framing of, in order to get through this ceremony, which is important. It's not because it's vital to myself or vital to my duties or vital to who I am. It's just, I got to get through my in-laws. So
It's a really good point.
It'd be easier if I was a Vulcan. The only person who does is Chapel, which rescues the beat a little bit, but it seems silly to me. She's
the only one defending the Vulcan side.
Yeah. So it is, you think Pike would be much, like in Spock Amok, Pike, the whole thing is about how his Vulcanness mixed with his human being is why he's an incredible member of this team and why you need it. It just was done so much better in that episode. So because it was done so much better in that episode, it's hard not to judge this against that. Mm-hmm. And that just struck me the whole time. I was like, I really feel like it's funny, right? The juxtaposition is funny to play, but I don't know. Did I articulate that in a good enough way?
No, I think that's an excellent point.
So there's that. That said, it's very fun, right? And where it leaves us is pretty interesting, because where are we going to go with this? We got 5 episodes to go. We have a potentially blossoming new romance, which could have implications throughout the crew and throughout all kinds of conflicts of interest, all kinds of potential other conflicts. Additionally, we know that T'Pring is somehow has communications with Spock's brother. When she finds out what's going, she can be pissed. Like this opens up some pathways for her.
Where's
right?
Cybok in all this?
Yeah, so there's some questions. So it leaves us in a pretty cool place. And the fun factor's off the charts. I cannot tell you, I can 100% say with accuracy that I laughed more in this episode than any other episode. Like, as far as the comedy, this one made me laugh a lot. And that's really fun. So ultimately, I really enjoyed it, but I cannot put it up. It fails to capture what Spock and Muck did in their sort of Freaky Friday-ness, so I'm going to need you to recite to me what my Spock-a-muck rating was.
Your Spock-a-muck rating was a 95.
Oof. So I would say I can't give this a 90. I'm going to say, and last week I said 80.
Last week you said 81.
83.
83.
83.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point that you made about nobody really defending the Vulcans and even the show. Like, I don't know why I'd want to be Vulcan either, especially the way they're depicted here. Like, on Next Gen and on the original series, there is a lot more of like, it would be cool to be Vulcan for this reason and this reason and this reason, but this is just a bunch of assholes. Why would you want to have anything to do with them in this world? So, and the most Vulcan thing about them, their lack of emotion, wasn't even depicted here. So they're kind of all just depicted as emotional assholes. Like, so what is the point? What's the benefit here? So, yeah, I mean, I think the comparison between this and Spock-a-muck, I mean, obviously, they are it's sort of a sequel. They're sort of dovetails. They're sort of the same episode in some ways. They are both fifth in the order in the lineup in the run of the show, and so I don't think it's as good. I don't think it's as successful as Spock-a-muck.
And it seems a weird choice to me. Doesn't it seem a weird choice to you? Because you've only got 20 episodes in these 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Why would you do the same episode again?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if this were,
you can do whatever you want. Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm yeah, that's a really good point. Like, I'm happy to return to this at some point, right? So if it happens in episode 5, come back episode like 40. Let's do it again, right? Let's play in that sandbox again. But in only 15 episodes to have 2 of basically the same sort of Freaky Friday-ish kind of a deal, I don't mind it. I mean, I like it. It's always fun. We get to do whatever, but it's really too close to Spock-a-muck. It's a very similar thing, and it's not as good. Yes, Mike?
But I'm going to shut up right after this, but I made a note, and I have to respect the note. There's one other thing that bothered me, and I want to go down to 80.
80, okay.
Yeah. The other thing that bothered me is exactly what I just said. We keep talking about how this is going to be episodic, right? Less serialized. And it's called Strange New Worlds. And so you would think, and a lot of times when we jump off world and we do things, we're focusing on that new world or the new kind of cool alien we haven't heard. Here again, we pitch a whole new interdimensional life form that behaves outside of our space and time, folded amongst itself, can fix people, I think, and we learn literally nothing about them. 2 scenes, they barely give us any effect. They don't make a lot of sense. We didn't spend enough time with them. That's a really interesting potential character, like alien species or whatever. We're more interested in the drama and a serialized story arc that we've been. So it's kind of an antithesis of what we're supposed to be doing anyway. So
yeah, I wish there were more Strange New Worlds.
Yeah,
in Strange New World. I mean, this season, the only Strange New World we had was like the Bronze Age, dum-dums who didn't remember stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of it. And even even in the previous season, right? There's nothing new. The Serene Squall, it is sort of the space pirates are sort of new. Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach. That's a new world, right? Memento Mori, Ghosts of Illyria, we see that's sort of new, but like, and Children of the Con. So like, there's been like 4 episodes that actually featured a Strange New World. So I think we're just balancing the sci-fi and the like interpersonal hijinks. I think we've definitely gone a little heavy on interpersonal hijinks, which I like it. I don't dislike it. I think it's just that the balance is off. The recipe is a little off. So weirdly, like I liked this episode. I mean, it's not that I don't like the episode just because I have all these thoughts and feelings about it. By itself, it's a fun episode. It's funny. It's like in the Next Gen would do it all the time, right? Like, oh, Picard's now 10 years old, or like, we have to de-alien all of our people at least once on the series because that's fun. And I love the beat with his mother. I think that's a good step forward. We moved the Chapel Spock relationship forward. To be perfectly honest, I don't know if I like that story. I don't know if I care very much.
Chapel Ortega was where we were headed, and I was into that, but
I would have liked that much better. I just don't think, like, I don't know if Spock is my romantic lead. Like,
Chapel is a pre-existing character, right?
She's a pre-existing. She is on the original series, but she's not a main character. She's the nurse who helps out McCoy. She doesn't actually have really much for any story arcs on her own. And I don't mind making her a main character, giving her story arcs. I just don't know if I care to see Spock as a romantic lead. Spock's a scientist. That's what it's about. And like who he's making out with, like, it doesn't feel very Star Trek to spend this much time, especially, again, if we were 5 seasons in, if we were 70 episodes in, all right, let's explore this. But it feels like this is like the number one story arc of Strange New Worlds is who's Spock gonna make out with, right? Because you got the Gorn thing, that's a big one. You've got you've got Pike's like, I'm gonna die soon.
They kind of dealt with that, right? And they dealt with Una's tribunal.
Una's thing, yeah. So like kind of like the biggest story of the series is like, is Spock gonna make out with Chapel? And I'm just like, I don't know. Anyway, that is a funny way of saying I'm going to give the episode 83 self-sealing stem bolts because I still enjoyed it.
That's funny, exactly where I was, but then I dipped down.
I have notes, but I still enjoyed it. So
it's fun. It's fun.
Super fun.
Yeah,
it's super fun. It's only in context with all the whole rest of the world that I have any of these feelings. Next week we will be doing Lost. In 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we will be doing Lost in Translation. That's going to be fun. Mike, what else can people see? We're taking a week off, but there might be a fair amount of content out there if you need to hear more of our nonsense.
Well, Keith, I just saw it on YouTube. We've reached over 20,000 hours of watch time, so people are catching up.
Oh, good Lord.
I know
I'm so sorry, world.
And you can add to that by checking out all 8 seasons of David E. Kelley's The Practice. We did this 2 hours.
And that doesn't even count in the 20,000 hours.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's podcast. We are watching Deep Space Nine, and it's getting good. Season 3 was really great. I can't believe it's going to get better, because it is.
Oh, yeah.
So you can catch up on that. K&M Geekly, just us podcasting about random stuff and shows we're watching. Check that out. Also, you've got Look at My Star Trek Toys. This week, we're doing some mixed media stuff coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
Which should be pretty interesting. You can check all that out, plus me watching all of these episodes and a bunch of other stuff on our Patreon at patreon.com/KNM.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you back in 2 weeks. And really looking forward to it. We're going to do a little vacation. Who knows what we're going to do? Maybe we'll post some pictures about what we're up to.
Yeah, we won't disappear from you. Don't worry. We'll be around.
Nobody's worried about slightly less of us. All right.
Guess what? Our moms would like slightly less of us, if you know what I'm saying.
I'm going to go visit my mom. So there you go.
What is she going to say about your belly, Keith? Now that we're fat shaming.
She's going to have a lot to say about my belly, but it's all going to be in subtext. Till then, this has been Keith and Mike Watch Strange New Worlds. Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.